Appeals. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Town of Poughkeepsie Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is a hybrid format with the public able to participate in person at the Town Hall or remotely via Zoom, video conferencing, and via telephone. The public can participate by the link that's attached to the agenda, or by mobile phone or by telephone at the following number: 1-929-205-6099, using the same meeting ID and passcode that are on the agenda or on the website. I'm going to do the roll call. Diane?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Tony G.
Here.
I'm here. Art?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
Christine?
Here.
Phyllis?
Here.
Tony S. Okay, Tony, you're muted, but I saw you raise your hand, so I
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay. And Simona?
I'm here.
Okay. So we have a full board tonight. Unless someone recuses themselves, the alternates will not be voting, but you're certainly welcome to ask questions. The format, for those of you unfamiliar with our procedure, is there's an agenda up here on the corner that you can take. Each of the cases will be called in the order that they're on the agenda. The applicant can come up, they'll be sworn, and describe what their application is. Members of the public can comment, as I said, in person or via Zoom about any comments they may have. The board members may have questions of the applicant and maybe even some of the commenters. When the record is complete, it'll be closed and we'll move to the next item on the agenda. When each of the items is complete, we're going to go into the deliberation phase, where there's no more evidence will be taken or any comments. Each of us will deliberate in public and come to a vote. Those applicants or people in the public can either wait until the end of the meeting to find out whether the application passes or fails, or they can call the zoning administrator in the morning. Okay? I'm going to bring that to item number 1. That's Stewart Shops. There's a request to have that adjourned until May 9th. I would make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. The next is item 2 is Diamond Storage. There's a request to have that adjourned to May 9th, and so I would make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next is McDonald's, 2585 South Road. Is there someone here for that application?
Yes, Matthew Ingber for the applicant, as well as Alex LeMay from Bowler Engineering.
Okay.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, why don't you describe what you want to do?
So, good evening for the applicant, Matthew Ingber from the law firm of Brown, Altman, and DeLeo, 538 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, 11747. So as you may recall, we last appeared before this board on March 14th to discuss this application where all variances were granted, which included a parking variance and wall sign variances. And we adjourned the hearing to tonight in respect to McDonald's request for a monument sign that's going to be located along Route 9. You asked at last hearing that our office, as well as McDonald's, reach out to the property owner about the feasibility to add a panel sign to the existing marquee sign at the Hudson Plaza Shopping Center. We've requested, our office and McDonald's, and we have not received permission to add a panel. So with that, we are respectfully requesting that the monument sign variance be be granted, and this relief now is absolutely necessary because without this sign, there's no visibility for this new McDonald's restaurant to the public as well as to travelers driving on the main road. And again, as noted from our last hearing, as well as the Dutchess County Planning Commission's recommendation, we will agree that the monument sign approval be conditioned that the variance apply only to freestanding pad site buildings within the Hudson Plaza Shopping Center and not to any businesses within the enclosed plaza. So with that, I mean, this is the third appearance on this application, so there is an extensive record. And we ask that if you have any questions, I'm here, as well as our project engineer, Alex LeMay, who can address any questions that you may have.
All right, so you said that you did not get permission. Were you denied, or you just haven't gotten an answer yet?
We've been denied permission.
Okay. When do you think construction will start?
I'm going to defer that to our project engineer. We'll have a timeline for you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Alex LeMay with Bowler Engineering. From the construction
Excuse me,
standpoint,
sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Just to answer the question of construction, McDonald's goal is to start construction during the summer of this year. We're currently targeting for July, potentially could start in August.
When do you expect, realistically, completion?
By the end of the year.
And for the record, we do have a conditional site plan approval from the planning board, which was granted on March 21st of this year.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have. Christine?
No questions right now.
All right.
Excuse me. You made a statement, there's no visibility. Are we done? That there's no visibility of the restaurant from Route 9, but that's not true. You'll have your signs and you'll have pretty good visibility coming up and down Route 9. You're gonna be right next to T&D Bank, right?
Correct. Alex, if you can you show a copy of the approved wall signs? Maybe that'll give
You want to see the wall signs, Matt, or would you like the rendering that we presented last time?
the rendering will work, and you could also just discuss the location of the approved wall signs from the BZA from the last hearing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I will share. This was a kind of a 3D rendering shared from the last hearing, just to demonstrate the way the monument sign would look, just with some of the trees that are along the Route 9 corridor there. Our building, it's kind of hard to see, would be in the shopping center parking lot here. This is that vacant bank that still exists, that's in the shopping center now, but this is kind of a 3D rendering. Again, now this is during the spring or the summer. Granted, in the winter, some of the leaves are going to fall off the trees and the visibility would be a bit better. But this is kind of a 3D rendering of what we would anticipate, the monument sign down here would look like with, the store behind the tree line. And I can also pull up the architecture plan as well. So this is a colored 2D elevations of the building, and from the wall sign perspective, what we had agreed to was to go with the county's recommendation, and the signs that they had recommended are these two signs here on the front elevation facing the south. This sign on the rear goes away. These signs on the Route 9 side go away, and there would be this logo sign here would actually be in place of this McDonald's word sign here. So this would be the M logo sign instead of the McDonald's word, the McDonald's word mark sign.
Can you tell me the height of that M?
Sure. About 18 feet. 18 feet 3 inches at the bottom. and they're about 2 feet tall.
And do you know the height of the trees along Route 9?
I don't know offhand, but I expect that they're anywhere from 8 to 12 feet in height.
Alex, the approved golden arch on the, supposed to be drive-through side elevation, that's the westerly side of the restaurant, correct?
Facing into the shopping center, correct?
Right, so there will be no signage facing Main Road.
There's no signs there's no wall signs for the building that face Route 9.
Right. Which makes the request for the monument sign necessary for, the public traveling on the main road.
Correct.
Anything else?
Not right now.
No? Okay. Tony?
Was there an explanation from the plaza owner to why it was denied use of the existing sign?
We were not provided an explanation of why we can't get on.
Do you have any written correspondence, just to confirm that?
I'll check our record to see if maybe McDonald has a written letter from the property owner. We can provide the board that.
Okay. Anything?
No.
Diane?
Would you consider taking the application for the monument sign away if you were granted the north-facing?
Well, the prior sign, the other signs have already been, some of them have already been granted, so the only application.
It can't be changed, so this is just the monument.
Just the monument sign.
All right, and the monument, do you actually, I'm looking at your renderings, and they actually blend in, especially with the fruit trees there, and the flowering trees. I mean, they look like a car in the parking lot, your sign, basically. It's about at the same scale, and it's going to blend in so much. Wouldn't you want to fight to get the permission to put it on the actual shopping plaza monument sign, where you would have no trees hindering the name?
At the last hearing, it was proposed to be facing Route 9, and we did receive pushback on the location of the signs, as well as basically had pushback from the Dutchess County Planning, which required us to revise our wall sign request and go with the 3 approved signs as well as this proposed monument sign.
Right, that's all.
Larry?
No questions.
Okay. Phyllis?
As I think about that plaza, the northmost part of that parking lot to the right of the bank, if you're looking at it, is a big open spot. I'm confused as to why that place, that pad that McDonald selected was selected, as opposed to one with more visibility or even going into the bank.
I can't explain a McDonald's business operations decision. I believe that might be beyond the scope of the area variance. Okay.
I just didn't know if you had any information into what went into the planning of that location, that's
Okay.
all.
No.
No further questions.
Tony S.
I have no questions.
And Simona?
I have no questions.
All right. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? All right. Anyone on Zoom? All right. I'm not seeing anything. All right. In that case, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to item number 4, 1214 Duchess Turnpike. Is there someone here for that application?
Mr. Mr. Stickle, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, what's your application?
We're asking for a variance on the property line. The original house is already there, and we're putting a second floor addition on it. This all started out because, unfortunately, the gentleman that owns the property hired some guys to turn around to replace the roof, the shingles, and it turned into a nightmare. So he decided, instead of just putting in or rendering drawing of for the roof, why not put the second floor addition on, which would bring more value to the neighborhood. Unfortunately, after everything's been said and done, we find out there's not enough room on either side of the house. We're 5 foot away from the driveway on the one side and 9 feet on the other side. So we're asking for a variance so that we can put the second floor addition on.
Okay, and currently there's a stop work order because,
Well, that was because of the roof. And that's been paid. The stop work order, the $150 to take the stop work order, has been paid to the town. So we're just waiting now to find out if we can get a building permit to, put the addition on and go ahead with this.
all right. So I think there were some concerns about, because you're so close to the neighbors, they're concerned about debris coming from the building, things falling off onto their property.
And we've been very, very good. Since I've been out on that job site, we've been very good about cleaning everything up on each side of that property and in the back. If you go out, you will find no debris laying around. There is materials out there that was bought for the job, but there is no, things was cleaned out of the house. The gentleman bought the house. It was a foreclosure, and he had to wait for almost 2 years to get the people out of the house. So there was a lot of debris out on the front when he set them out, waiting for them to come back to get their stuff. And that's probably where they're coming in with the debris. That was all cleaned up immediately as soon as we got the okay.
And the second story, is that going to in any way enlarge the footprint of the house?
Just going up is going to be the same size as the original downstairs, coming back up. I
Okay.
forget exactly how many square feet it is. It's on my application. So whatever the first floor is, that will be the second floor also.
Okay, and the overhang of the roof, do you have a plan for water treatment from rainwater?
It will have the gutters on it, so on and so forth. I'm really not, the engineer that drew up the blueprint really has not totally given me that information yet, but I'm figuring the water will be going back towards the back of the house onto the lawn.
All right, those are the questions I have. Christine?
That answered it. Thank you. No questions.
Art?
I'm good, thank you.
Tony? Thank you. Larry? Larry, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony S?
No questions.
Simona?
No questions.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on this application? I think there were some neighbor comments that were written in that will be part of the record. But I'm not seeing anyone in the public. Anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this application? Okay, I'm not seeing anything there, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? And that motion carries. That brings us to item number 5, the Verizon Wireless Small Cell Wireless Communication Facility, 1050 Winslow Gate Road. I understand the applicant is not here, but there are people from the public who wish to comment. I'm going to ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And again, if there are more than several people here to comment on it, and you all have the same concerns, you could just indicate that so that we just don't hear the same things we can hear, perhaps some other concerns that other people have. So who wants to be first? Come on up.
I'll be first. Mike, Paul.
Okay. All right. So there's someone on Zoom. I think that's
Yes.
okay. So just state your name.
Great, it's Michelle.
Michelle, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right. Go ahead.
All right, well, the first thing is, I was just curious as to why the attorney for Verizon did not have to be sworn in on the last zoning board meeting. So that's number one. You know, the implications of that are pretty huge, especially since when he did speak about the frequency that will be, emitted from the 9-11 Raymond Avenue site was not 5G frequency. It is, in fact, part of the Verizon 5G frequency and spectrum. So that's 3,700 megahertz, and you can hear the engineer, Mr. Evans, I think it was, who actually quoted that that would be the frequency that is licensed at that site. So that's number one. And then kind of based on that, I'm really questioning why we can't invoke the 185-17 code that we have, where if the town is deceived, that is a reason to revoke an application. So that's number one. And I was curious as to what the board's intention was regarding our ordinances and whether you're going to employ or enact any of the variances that were so beautifully outlined by Andrew Campanelli, I'm sorry, for Woodstock, which I actually sent to you. It's really beautiful. And according to the attorney for the Andrew Campanelli, he said it's the best ordinance in the country. So I'm really questioning what your intention is, whether you're going to throw together a special town ordinance session to review those ordinance fortifications for our code. So that's that item. The number 4 thing I wanted to mention is, did you know there were about 47 towers and 227 antennas within a 3-mile radius of where you're sitting right now? And many of them are unlicensed. So therefore the FCC doesn't guide their emissions. I mean, I was just wondering if you're actually aware of that. So, you know, the implications of that are huge. And, you know, you get these impacts on the brain. We're talking about anxiety, depression, mood. Of course, there's always brain tumors, which have actually been studied in animal studies and recently released. And no one's measuring the ambient converging signals. But what we are going to do is put up little bows on Main Street where some of the highest levels of RF microwave radiation are, and that is our, you know, kind of weak gesture that we are putting forth for May, the Mental Health Awareness Month. These little bows aren't going to do anything, but if we have town ordinances that control this particular hazard, RF microwave radiation, I think it will go a great distance in actually, you know, doing something real and significant to improve mental health.
Michelle, can you wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. Mark Pfeiffer, I hope he'll be glancing at the insurances that are going to be provided by Verizon, and he is going to notice that they're all exempt from coverage for RF microwave radiation claims. And I would hope that he would say, no, sorry, I don't think we should do this, especially in light of that ruling from the U.S. D.C. Court of Appeals back in August of 2021. So that's my wrap-up, and I'm really incensed by the lack of questioning when the Verizon attorney does speak. And that's mostly not because your hearts aren't in the right place, but because you're not qualified. And finally, the engineer that we do have basically just goes to the FCC guidelines all the time, and he does
Michelle,
not.
Michelle, I'm going
he's
to
not
need you
acting
to wrap
on
up.
No, that's it. He's not acting on behalf of our town in the manner of that he really should be. Okay, so I've made my points before to the board about that PE, and thank you for allowing me to comment.
Okay. And you're next.
My name is Gina.
Gina, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Absolutely, yes. So, based on this wealth of research that goes back to the 1970s on just 2G, 3G, and 4G, now we have 5G, which is much more powerful. There is really a wealth of data that shows that there are multiple health concerns with this technology. So the first question I have, and I guess it's food for thought because you're not going to be responding to my questions, is are you prepared, or is there a plan or some idea in place to provide or pay for some kind of protective device or a system that will actually protect the people who are living in the radius of these frequencies? You know, human beings are electrical. You know, we are sensitive to these things, and it's a new technology that really isn't taking into account how it will affect health. And again, back to the 70s, there's a tremendous information that shows that there is a link. And especially in a post-COVID world, we got enough depression and anxiety. We don't need any more. So that was my first question. The second one is similar to what Michelle had mentioned about the recent U.S. D.C. Court of Appeals, which was a lawsuit against the FCC by Robert Kennedy and the Children's Health Defense Organization and other organizations. And the court found against the FCC, and they said that their guidelines pertaining to RF MWR was arbitrary and capricious. So with that in mind, I mean, they got their nose rubbed in the fact that they're not doing their job. They're supposed to be updating this information, and they're not. So they're not in compliance to looking at the best interests of American citizens, because this is just not happening in New York. It's happening everywhere. You guys could set the stage for a revolution for safety for the rest of the country if you make the right decision. What I want to say is number 3 is that in light of this information from the D.C. court, which because there is a precedent, do you realize that because the telecommunications industry is shielded from liability, who do you think a class action suit is going to go after? It's going to go after the zoning boards. It's going to go after the politicians in the town that allowed this to happen. And you guys could be liable. You guys could be on the hook when people begin to realize the extent to which their health is being harmed. There's got to be a better way. There got to be other frequencies. It just takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of caring. And I would hope that you guys would maybe lead the pack on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
My name is Alice Castellano.
Alice, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do. I just have a question and a comment. What is the existing structure that you would like to put it on?
So I think I can answer that one. The notice actually says an existing structure, but it's going to go on a pole, right?
Well, actually, it's not decided yet. They're still going back and forth. It may be that the plans change, which is yet one of the reasons why the applicant is not here this evening. They may need to revise their plans, and so they may come back to us with something that's different from what is actually in the public notice. So the short answer is, I believe the current intent, the way the current plans are shown, is to construct a pole in the middle of the parking lot, but that may be changing.
The parking lot up by the new ShopRite, or the one down by the Home Depot, or you don't know?
I don't know the location, I'm sorry.
Okay.
ShopRite.
ShopRite?
That's what they said.
Yeah.
I don't know, sorry. Yep.
And
Shop.
my comment is, if they do that, and if the radiation and we like to shop there and eat there, up in that, there's some new restaurants that we're enjoying. But if the radiation goes up significantly, we will be avoiding the area.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, anyone on Zoom?
Yes. I'm not sure if you can hear me. This is Angela on Zoom.
Angela,
Yeah.
do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do, yes.
All right, what do you want to say?
So yes, I'm a nearby resident, a recent college graduate who's working remotely from home, and I just wanted to share a quick personal example to kind of tie along with a few of the other thoughts that we've heard. A few months into working from home, I started experiencing extreme fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, headaches, and brain fog. So overall, just kind of a short-term memory loss, and these are not really the symptoms a young, healthy adult should be experiencing, and I do want to make a clear note that I hadn't been prior to this. So I was fortunate enough to have a person come in and take readings of the radiation coming off of the devices I was surrounded by, and that would include pretty common household items: wireless printer, laptop, cordless phone, router, Bluetooth devices, and was shocked to learn the readings were over 200 times higher than the healthy ranges they should have been. And these are coming from day-to-day home appliances. So I bring this up because since then I've been able to take steps to reduce my exposure to those and practically eliminate all the symptoms mentioned. But with more and more antennas put up, without strict codes, or as what was earlier mentioned, just care and thought into what those levels could be to be healthier, that option and the freedom is really no longer available, which is a worrisome thought for a young adult. Me personally, who's interested in one day raising a family in a healthy environment and kind of keeping me in this area as well. So another quick thought is, outside of this full-time job, I am studying to become a real estate agent. And in all of those studies, it's pretty evident that such towers bring about detriment to the nearby properties, driving down their values. And I'd like to hope we can all agree that people come to this area to enjoy living here for beautiful nature, and to be not surrounded by high frequencies, unlike nearby overpopulated areas like the city. But I think permitting this type of permanent construction opens up the doors for more of that to continue and further just drive down attraction and value to our area. So just to wrap up, my understanding is that if a proposal is granted, any benefits to the applicant must be weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community at hand. So I do ask that everyone on the board really thinks about the findings that support the necessity of putting up such a tower versus the findings that show whether the radiation created through the operation of such a tower won't harm nearby residents. And the final question is really, is it the telecom's best interest we have in mind here, or the future of our community? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I don't, oh, okay, come on up.
Barbara Helm?
Barbara, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, what would you like to say?
I just want to say that as a grandmother, and I spent all afternoon looking into this and studying it and getting online and seeing all the ins and outs, and this is quite over my head, except that we have a responsibility, the town has a responsibility, we have a responsibility for our children here. And radio, the electric frequencies, the radiation is not healthy at all. And there was a lot of things online that stated what are the side effects, what's happening, what's this and what's that. And so please, on behalf of our kids, on behalf of you, there has got to be other options that will suffice. And I'm asking you not to allow money and whatever is happening in this world to take over our responsibility of who we are as human beings and a healthy lifestyle for all of us. That's it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. God bless you. Oh, let me pray while I'm here. And that's true. Father, I just thank you for these people. I thank you that they have
chosen this position to the best of their ability to provide health and welfare for all, and that you would lead and guide them, and that they would research what they need to research to get to the truth of this matter, and to have the guidelines that we are free people and we can live in an area where it is healthy for all of us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there someone on Zoom? Why don't you unmute yourself?
It's up.
Okay. All right. Hearing nothing else, I'll move to adjourn this to May 9th.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, then that motion carries. That brings us to item number 6, Dunkin' Donuts, 48 Vassar Road. Is there someone here for that application?
I'm here, and then we've got
Yes,
several
I'm-
people on Zoom as well.
All right, go ahead.
What's your name?
Jeff Stewart?
Jeff, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best
I
of
do.
your knowledge? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What's your application?
And actually, I'm going to let the folks on Zoom take the lead. I'm here to support them. So, Cynthia?
Yes,
Cynthia, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, we're here tonight for variances for signage for the new Dunkin' Donuts at 48 Vassar Road. I don't know if you need to see the plan at all, but the reason we're here just mostly is for the exterior wall signage. What we're proposing is we're gonna the existing building was a bank. It is an accounting firm now. We're proposing to mostly paint the outside, and we're also adding a mansard roof, so it will be more in keeping like the existing shopping center. On the north entry, it faces the parking lot of the Red Oak Shopping Center, and this is going to be the main entry into our building.
Do you mind sharing? Can you share your screen with the
Yeah,
plans? while you're
I'm
talking about
sorry, yes,
it? If you can do that, that might be helpful.
okay. Okay, the north elevation is on this sheet R1, rendering 1. It is detail number 1. The sign, we're proposing 2 signs on this elevation. One sign is over the front entry. It is a sign that says Dunkin', which is Dunkin's new name. It's one sign, 25.26 square feet, and it requires a variance because signage is only allowed on a road. We're proposing a second sign, Poughkeepsie runs on Dunkin', and we're aware that the county and the planning office, the planning professional wants to eliminate as much visual clutter as signage. So we are amenable to removing the Poughkeepsie runs on Dunkin' sign, but keeping the background, the wood background there, as we need to block out some windows, and we don't want to try to match the existing finish.
So which approach is that?
The north elevation on the parking lot side, I can zoom in.
As you're heading southbound.
Yeah, right. and
So
as
not
I
the
have-
one that says Dunkin',
Yes.
that one?
No, we want the one over we want the sign over the entry, because it would be awkward, as mostly the parking's on that side, and this is really the public side.
That's the north side. So which one do you wanna, are you willing to?
We will eliminate the Poughkeepsie runs on
Oh,
Dunkin'.
okay, on the wall, okay,
Yes, on the wall.
okay.
Okay. The second proposed sign is on the east elevation. It is a Dunkin' drive-through sign. This is a sign is permitted because it is on the street. The total square footage of that sign is 40.7 square feet, and it's compliant. And then the last sign that we're proposing is facing the northbound traffic. It's a DD sign on the south elevation of 12.6 square feet. We're requesting a variance for this sign so we can attract the northbound traffic. Also, let me just pull it up. Excuse me for a minute. Drawing's moving a little slow. We're also proposing, and this is the site plan, we're proposing a monument sign at the entry to the shopping center. This is the only entry to our site, but we're aware of the county comments and the planner's comments that this is a lot of signage in this one location. So we propose to either move it to the other side, or if we don't get the wall sign on the facing the DD side facing the northbound traffic, then we would like to move it in front of the building. I know that there was also some comments about the existing directory signage to the shopping center. We did find out that the landlord did recently change that because there was really no space for it on the existing pylon sign. So that is another option. And if you need to see any of those, I can bring those up.
If you would show me again the permitted sign, so I'm not confused about which one you're allowed.
Detail 2, the east elevation, which faces Vassar Road.
So that's
The one that says Dunkin' drive-through.
Dunkin' drive-through.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's the permitted one?
Correct.
Okay.
Can that one be above the roof line? I thought we didn't allow that.
So technically, and what the county says is that structure is built just to put the sign on, but technically the sign is on a wall. I mean, the board could, it's, within the code, it's up to you to make an interpretation, but it's not, what they mean by not above the roof line is what you used to see in Atlantic City where it had
Yes,
dollies
with the
or
poles,
something like
yep.
that, where the sign went above the structure. In this instance, the sign is on the structure, but the structure is added solely for the purpose of having the sign.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that where Dunkin' drive-through, that's not above the roof line?
because it's on the wall that it's affixed to. It's above the roof line for the rest of the building, but per the code, when they say above the roof line, they mean, projecting above the.
Can you zoom in on that illustration? Are you able to do that?
We are actually adding a roof line to the top of the building. The building roof is down where the white is shown, the white color. We're adding at the request of the planning board, we were asked to put this mansard to look more like the existing shopping center and to shield the HVAC units from the public, which they're quite noticeable now.
Okay. And there's two, right? So there's the one where the Dunkin drive-through sign is, and then on, I guess, east, north.
Well, there's actually three. The DD
Okay.
also, has a monolith wall. The one over the front, the sign over the front entry has a monolith wall. Currently, like I said, the building ends where the white is, the existing building.
So let me ask you, if you were not granted the DD and the Dunkin, would you still have that structure there?
Well, there's really no reason to have it over I would have it come up that high.
Okay.
But if we could get the variances, we'd be willing to lower the signage down to what the white area is. Currently, there is a sign right over the entry in the white area. We're not sure if one existed on any of the other sides, but I can only see what was there now.
Which structure would be shielding the HVAC stuff?
It's the dark gray, the sloped
Oh,
area.
okay, not where the signs are.
No.
Okay, all right.
You can see the sign, the monolith projecting up here.
Correct.
And as Cynthia testified, we'd be willing to move the signs down to the roof line, basically, if we were granted the variances. And if we did that, then those structures wouldn't necessarily need to be as high.
Do you have a rendering from Vassar Road to show whether those signs impede any of the signs in the buildings behind you?
No, I don't.
As you're looking at it from the road,
Right.
directly
There's
on, there aren't any buildings directly
Right,
behind it.
exactly.
Okay, all right.
The strip center starts a little bit to the right of it as you're looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, our drive-through will be back there, and all the drive-through lanes will be in that area.
And so just so I'm clear about the existing monument sign in the plaza, you are able to use that, or you're not, or you don't know yet?
We were given permission to use it, and there's going to be a panel, I think the second panel down. The top panel right now is Rite Aid,
Right.
and then the landlord's given us the approval to take
Okay.
the second one.
So do you still need a monument sign?
We'd like to have visibility for the northbound traffic on that side. And it just, the monument side, if we were able to, I mean, it served a couple purposes. One, it was directing traffic into that northern entrance, signifying that was where they needed to turn if they were heading south, rather than getting past the building and trying to figure out, how do I get in there? If we were to move that from that location to prevent the clutter, and we weren't allowed the DD sign above the drive-through, the one on the south side of the building, and we'd like to try to get that monument sign right there in the grass in front of the building just to catch the traffic going north.
Could you go back to the illustrations of the signs? So, the DD sign, that's on the south side?
Correct.
And is it closer to Vassar Road or farther from Vassar Road?
So that is on the Vassar Road side
Okay.
of the building.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. If you had that DD sign and you had the sign over the main entrance, would that be helpful at all?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you would have to you would have to give up the the sign on Vassar Road side.
The monument sign.
No,
The
not the
one
monument
that
sign, the wall
currently
sign.
is approved, the one that's within
The
the
one that's
code.
allowed, right.
So we would like to keep all three.
Yeah.
And
Let's say
if we
let's say
were-
that wasn't going to happen.
So if that were going to happen, I would prefer to have the Dunkin' drive-through sign on Vassar Road, the one facing the road that's approved,
Mm-hmm.
and the one facing the parking lot, the one that just says Dunkin' above the door,
Mm-hmm.
because that signifies kind of where everybody should go if they're in the parking lot. We'd love to, obviously, we'd love to have all three of them, but if we were having to give up the DD, if we could put the monument sign in the grass right there, that would be helpful.
All right, and you recognize, based upon the county's comments, you have to have a supermajority to approve anything?
That is understood, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Is there anything, I don't have any more questions. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
Cynthia or Dave?
I don't know if you need to see the drive-through elements. If I can bring them up if I need to.
Sure.
Okay. One.
Chrissy, the monument sign in front of the building would still need a variance, correct? Because you can only
Right, yeah,
have
I'm not, they're able to use
Because there's
the
already an
existing sign, the existing pylon
Because there's already
sign.
an existing.
Right, but I think they're asking for an additional monument
Right.
sign in front of their building.
Yeah.
So if
Yes.
so, I think that would need another variance,
still
which
need
hasn't been
another
advertised.
variance.
Just
Oh, it hasn't been,
No, well, there's an advertising for the, I guess technically for a monument sign, but it's to be located on a neighboring parcel.
oh, okay.
Arguably, if you were to move that onto this parcel, it
I see.
potentially could be covered, but go ahead.
I don't think that's going to be a concern.
All right, this is drawing A6.2. Detailed 1 is a height limitation bar. Detailed 2 are the directional signs, which were proposed at the entry. They're a little under 3 square feet. Then we have an order canopy and speaker. And the menu board, the digital menu boards are shown on drawing A6.1, detail 7, and they're small, now that they're LED, they're not very big, and there would be a canopy over the speaker canopy would go with it. They're two separate pieces.
Okay. I'm not too concerned about that, but let me ask you about what you described as directional signs.
Yes.
Where would they, where would they go? And could you blow those up?
Yes, we were proposing, I believe we're proposing to put them, there'll be directional signs at the exit, and we do not have one at the entry, because we had the monument sign over there.
Yeah,
Originally.
could you blow it up so I can see the directional part of it?
The directional, the location?
No, what you're describing as a directional sign just looks to me like a sign. Typically, I think of a directional sign that has an arrow, or it says this way, or it has something to do with directions.
Right, these are the directional signs, and they do have an arrow.
Yeah, so you could blow it up 11 or 15 times so I could see it?
That's not the same sign, Paul.
Oh, there's an arrow.
See, it's
Yeah.
it's there. It's just
And where would that one with the arrow go?
We have some at the exit. We have directional signs at the exit. I believe we have a sign, the directional signs also. Let me just get to the drawing.
Hey Cynthia, this is Dave Pinella.
I see where the other one.
Excuse me.
It's really
Excuse me, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So we are proposing directional signs, to answer the question. There would be one at the entrance, which is all the way to the right where we were talking about the pylon. And it would just say, like, to your point, it would be entrance or enter, have the DD and just enter, so you know this is the location to enter. And then right in front of the building, the exit drive, we would have one on either side of the exit drive, just indicating that that's an exit only, not an entrance.
Okay, but inside the plaza. Those are inside the plaza?
It'd be right along Vassar Road, inside the plaza property line, but along each side of the curb cut on Vassar Road,
Okay.
the exiting curb cut.
All right, those are all the questions I have right now. Christine?
Yeah.
Okay, just to reiterate so I understand, the sign that just says Dunkin, you're proposing putting it over the entrance, which is around the same area where the current sign is for the,
For the accounting firm?
Okay.
Correct, yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right, and then the Dunkin drive-through faces Vassar Road.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can put your name on the existing monument sign. Okay.
That is also correct.
That's all I have, just wanted to understand.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And again, to the height, if the concern is that the mansard or the monoliths are higher than the mansard that's shielding the HVAC, we could bring those down so they're all at the same height if that's resolves the board's concern.
Thank you.
All right.
Why is there that wooden-looking structure below Dunkin'? Why do you even need that? Removing that would bring the signs down anyway, without a discussion to.
It's part of Dunkin's branding look and their new image.
Yeah, but to answer your question, you're right. Those could be lowered so that the sign could be in line lower, and the whole structure is not above the new mansard.
Dunkin' could go where the white facade is on the
Yep.
building
At
now.
that same
That's
level.
correct.
yes.
That's right, and that it's an architectural element, that the brand has given us to apply to the building, so that could be relocated someplace else, or certainly lowered or removed just to get the Dunkin' above the white band. Sure.
Then you were saying you want to put a DD exit only sign. There's already an exit only. The plaza has installed an exit only sign for that exit. Why would one have to say DD?
It's not necessary. It's more directional sign that's illuminated. I mean, if the board would permit it, it doesn't even need to say DD, but it just could say, enter, exit in the Dunkin' colors.
Well, as I said, there's already an exit sign, and there's only one entrance. And I think people that live in this area pretty much know where that entrance is. It's been there for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be hard pressed to put another sign there. And your directionals, could you go back to your directional signs again on the next page? Because I'm totally confused, which is easy to do, but I'm totally confused. Back those on the bottom right. Down, right on the bottom right, our bottom right. I don't know that you got it.
Yeah, that's a monument.
So that's the
This-
proposed
this-
monument
So they aren't
sign.
okay.
That's the proposed monument sign.
That's okay. Gotcha. And
Oh, okay.
there's go up to your left. Your drive-through. Why do you have to have a DD there as well?
If we need to, we can remove it.
Because you've got that, then go over to your right on the top end. There's another, looks like it says, go all the way to the right, go up to the second there. Is that a DD as well? I mean, you're kind of hammering those DDs, aren't you?
Certainly, and the height bar is really just it's to make sure that as you drive underneath it, it tells you where the drive-through starts.
Right. But
It tells you where the drive-throughs. We certainly that's an added thing from the brand. We
you
can
could do a
remove
height
the
bar
Dunkin'
without
there.
DD on it, correct?
Yeah,
That's
We
what
could do it without
that's certainly
DD.
that.
Certainly.
I'm done for now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Lisa, did the planning board, is there site plan approval for all this stuff other than what the variances are?
I don't know offhand, sorry. I don't remember when what the discussion was of the drive-through signs. I don't know if the specifics of the sign were discussed as opposed to the location of where signs might be.
And what would be the process then? If that was all on the site plan, would planning recognize that, or somebody would recognize that was either complied with or required additional variances? No. Okay. All right. Then I don't think we really need to discuss those at this point. Do we?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you may.
Don't look at me like that, Paul. Go back to your other renderings for the ones that's going to look at Vassar Road.
The ones on the building, the sign.
Please. The question for that one, since that's a built up, it's essentially a monument sign leaning against the building, correct? Is that not, are we creating a monster if we allow that? Just to block windows? Which what she said they were going to use it for?
We're not blocking any windows.
I thought that's what
Are
you
you
said.
talking
that
about
stone.
the one that
The
says
stone.
Poughkeepsie runs on Dunkin?
No, to the left there was all that stonework to the right there. I believe when she
Yep.
first started speaking, she said that we're blocking off some windows.
No, we're not. This is actually, there's some additions to the building, so that we're not blocking any of the existing building windows, at least on this side of the road. Because right around the corner, where the DD is, it wraps, that stone wraps around, the stone on Vassar Road wraps around to the drive-through window side. And that is all building addition.
What you heard was the wooden paneling on, if you're
The
looking
right-hand
at the
side?
top element, it's to the right. That's blocking
Okay.
some existing windows.
Gotcha.
This just right here in detail 1 on the north elevation.
And the left hand where the stonework is actually going to be part of the building itself.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Did you have you appeared before the planning board on this?
Yes,
Yes.
And
yes, we have.
you have conditional approval, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the signs were showed this elevation, and the planning board had us add like the stonework to match the stone that's in the shopping center, the mansard roof, to match the shingle mansard roof in the shopping center behind us. And the planning board on the site plans, it showed the location of the monument sign near the entrance, which the comment came back of the location of that monument sign that was too close to the Citizens Bank sign. So we kind of discussed that, okay, if we get that, maybe we should move it in front of the building versus down there. We didn't know that the monument sign was in itself an additional variance.
Anything else?
No, I'm done for now.
Okay,
Thank you.
Tony? Thank you. Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
You've covered them, thank you.
Tony, yes.
Sorry, I was muted. No questions.
And Simona?
No questions.
Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? If you could take your screen off, stop sharing.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, anyone in the Zoom who wishes to comment on this? Okay, so let me just try and clear up. Regarding the monument sign, are you no longer looking for a variance for a monument sign off your property? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's just the other sign, and you're willing to get rid of the Dunkin in Poughkeepsie?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Then, unless anyone else has any other questions, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? All right, then that motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
That brings us to item number 7.
I'm Patricia Kirkup, my husband Terry.
Do you,
This is 6 Hickory Lane?
Yes,
do you
Okay.
both swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
yes, I do.
All right, and what do you want to do?
Well, we're looking to legalize 2 existing sheds that are currently on our property in the backyard. Sheds have to be 6 feet from the side of the property line. The one shed, the northern shed, is located 2 feet 8 inches from our side property. So we're requiring a variance for that shed of 3 feet 4 inches. And the southern shed over on the other side of the property is located 1 foot 7 inches from the side property line. So we need a variance of 4 feet 5 inches for that. Now, when these sheds were erected, it's at least 30 years ago, at least. We had gone around to the neighbors at that time to make sure that nobody had a problem. Because they're not big enough for a permit, but we didn't realize there was a variance on the from the property line. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to sell our house, so we want to make sure we have everything in order before we do that.
Okay, and you think both those sheds are about 30 years old?
Oh, at least, yeah, at least.
All right, I don't have any questions. Christine?
I don't have any questions.
Art?
No questions.
Tony? Diane? Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony S?
No questions.
Simona?
No questions.
Okay, anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? All right, I don't see anybody in the audience. Anyone on Zoom? All right, I'm not seeing anything, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next is 51 Laughlin Lane.
Good evening.
Okay, if you would
Paul
state your name.
Pilon, architect.
Hi, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right, why don't you describe this application?
Sure. I'm Paul Pilon, architect. I'm here on behalf of Regina and Chris Santini, 51 Laughlin Lane. The Santinis would like to add an addition to their home to increase the size of the bedrooms for their growing family. After looking at the site, there's already an existing non-conforming condition. The north side of the house is 2.8 feet over the required setback and 2.1 over the south side setback. So based on some dialogue with them, some different design approaches, we decided that the best way to provide for the addition is to go straight up from the existing footprint that is already there. We propose to do it in a Cape Cod style house, try and minimize the increase, or there is no increase, to the setbacks that are already in violation. So we feel that the design going up is the most economical way to go. It's preferable. We don't feel that this is going to be a detriment to the neighborhood. We hope it's an enhancement to the neighborhood. The other thing I'd like to point out is that their existing current roof has a fairly low pitch to it, and they feel that this is also an opportunity for them to improve the drainage away from their house. So it's the most economical thing for us to do. In the rear of it, the rear of the existing house, we are proposing to do a one-story addition, but that has been designed in such a way that it does not encroach upon the setbacks.
Are you going to have to do any tree removal work?
The owner is going to be removing some trees, but not as a result of this project.
Okay. All right. I don't have any questions. Christine?
No questions.
Art?
No questions.
Tony? Diane? Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony S.
No questions.
Simona?
No questions.
Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? I don't see one. Anyone in Zooming who wishes to comment on this? All right. I don't don't see any response, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, and you can wait until the end or find out in the morning, okay? This brings us to item number 9, Kathy and Brian Haas, 53 Buckingham Avenue.
Good evening.
What's your name?
Brian Haas?
Brian, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
All right, describe it.
Yeah, so I just noticed I have to make a small correction on the agenda that this addition is actually going to be on the side of the house and not the front, just so we're all on the same page. I live at 53 Buckingham Avenue, and I'm seeking to put an addition on the side of the house. The issue is that there is supposed to be a 30-foot setback from the front of the property to the new construction, and the measurement comes out to be about 24.7, so I'm seeking a differential of 5.3 feet. Just to be clear, the reason we're doing the addition is because about a month and a half ago my father-in-law passed away, and my mother-in-law, who lives at 95 Buckingham, is not coping with some emotional issues with it, and also is having a second steel knee put in next week. So she's disabled, and she functions best when she's around my wife. I can't take away from that. So, and she would be a welcome addition to our family. So, having said that, I'll take any questions.
All right, so to be clear, this does not encroach any further on the front yard than the existing
That is correct.
main part of the house.
That is correct.
And in fact, it's behind the porch, which is in the front yard setback.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Christine?
No questions.
Art?
No questions.
Tony? Diane? No. Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony S.
No questions.
Simona?
No questions for me.
Okay. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? I don't see anyone. Anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this application? All right, I don't see anything there, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries.
Thank you so much.
This brings us to item number 10. William Vogt, okay. 51 Kinry Road.
That's good. Good evening.
Mr. Vogt, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do.
Okay, why don't you describe your application?
Okay, so what we'd like to do, my wife and I had recently retired, and instead of being snowbirds, we found ourselves watching our grandchildren. And our two daughters have moved out, so we'd like to build an expansion to our dormer on the top. We'd like to expand it out like 4 or 5 feet on one side, 5 to 6 feet on the other side, not extruding the property line from where the house is originated. We're actually going to stay about 16 inches in on the top floor from the side of the house. And then on the bottom bedroom, in the back of the house, it says here on the side, it says on the side in this public hearing notice, but it's actually in the back of the bedroom. We're going to go out 12 feet and 6 feet on the bathroom, giving ourselves a little bit of room for our grandchildren so they can have that whole area downstairs to play and have fun. And then in the future, we want to put on ground level, put like a sunroom out there, like a hot tub or a little spa, so that we can go out there and enjoy the sun in the winter months and things like that, you know. It's basically, our family's getting bigger, even though we lost our children, but we're getting more children. So we love the area and we want to stay in, and we've been in 27 years, and this is why we like to do this.
All right, and so I understand all the additions are farther away from the side lot line than the existing house, is that correct?
The rear addition is off the back bedroom. It's even with the side of the house, but our property, the way the house was built, because it had a survey, our property actually goes in to the property, so it's facing in towards the yard. So as we're going back, we're getting more room on the side of the house. So instead of 10 feet that we have now, we're actually going back to like 12 feet as we go back. So it keeps on changing as you go back. So it's going to be even on the side of the house. The lower addition.
Right.
The upper addition is going to be 16 inches from the edge of the house. So as the rest of the neighbors in the neighborhood have it already.
Okay. Christine?
No questions.
All right.
No questions.
Tony? Okay. Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony S.
No questions.
Simona?
No questions.
Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? I don't see anyone. Anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this application? Again, I don't see anyone, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to item number 11. Stacy Tourist, 33 Kinderhook Drive.
Good evening. Ciro Interati, architect for the project. Stacy and Matt Kerwin, and Austin, the contractor. We bought this
Excuse me,
project.
Just a second.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Anyone else is going to be testifying? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so we brought this project to the planning board back in the fall, and we were referred to this board, the zoning board, because we requested a side yard variance, and we received that variance from this board. We went back to the planning board and received planning board approval for the project. We went ahead and finished the construction drawings and filed for a building permit. That's when we found out that we needed a special use permit because it was considered an accessory apartment. Stacy's mom is selling her house in Long Island and wants to move up here to be closer to her 3 grandchildren and her daughter and son-in-law. So that's what's sort of driving the project. We inadvertently made a mistake when we made the application. If you're looking at the plan, what we're calling a sort of a back covered porch area is actually going to be conditioned space. It's constructed with 2x6 exterior studs. It's going to be insulated. The windows are going to be the same windows as the rest of the apartment, Anderson windows. And there will be heat in that what we're calling the rear porch. It's actually going to function as a sitting room or a home office, that sort of thing. So if you calculate that into the equation, the area of that addition, that apartment, is over 500 square feet. So it was our mistake in putting down the wrong square footage when we made the application.
When we were there, the discussion I had is that that part of this was for an office.
Pardon me?
Part of what you just
Well,
described
it's a multi-function room. She can use it for a sitting room to sit and read, or she might use it for her computer. You know, it's part of her apartment.
Yeah, except for the impression I got that it was going to be an office for your business. And if you wanted to speak, you're going to have to be sworn in. So, state your name.
What's your name?
Okay. Matthew Cohen?
Matthew, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
So, was that not accurate about your office?
I'm not as knowledgeable with, the plans and moving forward with all of this. It could be a sitting room, it could be a desk with a computer. There's not going to be anything crazy, for, office/sitting room.
I don't think that anyone's going to have a real concern about an 18 square foot variance for the accessory apartment. What I'm more concerned, I think everybody would be about some inaccurate testimony about what the use of that room is going to be. So, you want to say something? Why don't you just state your name?
Austin, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes. I think Matt's confused. There's storage in the garage area where he's going to be storing equipment for his painting. This, as shown on the second floor plan of the drawings, is part of that apartment. That's not accessible by any other way than the apartment.
Okay, which part of the plans would show that for the architect?
Second floor.
Second floor towards the rear. The rear part of the apartment, there's a room there, we call it an enclosed, I don't know what we call it.
Yeah, it says enclosed porch.
We call it an enclosed porch, but it's actually built and constructed as though it was, conditioned space.
Okay, and that brings the square footage to what?
Over 500. It's 14 feet by 37.4. 522.66, I think.
Okay. So it's storage space, or what else is it?
No, it's going to be part of the apartment. It's going to be, like I said, she might want to sit there and read a book in the afternoon, or she might want to set up a little desk with her computer on it. It's up to her for what she wants to use it for.
So there's biennial or annual inspections on accessory apartments?
Biennial.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
So the building inspectors go out and inspect accessory apartments to make sure they still conform to what was granted.
Okay.
What do you think?
So the square footage of the apartment is now 500.
Yes.
Okay, so that's over the amount needed, so that's okay.
Okay.
Because they have to be at least 400 square feet. You had said that there was a commercial vehicle.
Yeah, he just has a pickup with some signs on
Don't worry about that.
it. Okay. I don't have any more questions. Christine?
So the exterior stairs start at the back of the house and go up to the apartment? Is that?
They start at the front of the house and go up to
That's
the
the front.
apartment.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at something.
And so the enclosed porch that you're talking about is through the back of the property.
Correct,
and
it's at the
over
back.
what was listed as the shop and the garage on the, that's
It's above the
first-
garage, but it's
or
facing
first
the rear
floor.
of the property.
Okay.
It's private, very private back there.
And do you have a CO for the enclosed porch, or what was it on the
We-
plans that went to the building department?
This, it
Okay.
says enclosed porch, but we can change that to just a sitting room. It's just the terminology.
Okay.
We haven't gotten a building permit yet, and we haven't done any construction.
Okay.
That's all right now, thank you.
Okay. All right.
How do you get to the apartment other than those steps? Is that the only way to get in?
There's a door that connects from the second floor of the main house into the apartment.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
And, well, let me just go through. your parking, you're gonna go into a garage? You're gonna, a garage also, right?
There's a garage underneath, yes.
Okay. How wide's the driveway gonna be?
When we were here the last time, I think it had to be less than, I think, 15 feet, if I don't remember. So
Right.
that's what size it's going to be.
All right, so how much parking do you think you have in the driveway now?
Probably enough for one car in the garage and another car in the driveway.
Okay. And you're on town water and sewer? No.
Yes.
Say yes, okay. And you're gonna be owner occupied, right? You're gonna live there?
Yes.
Yes, they live there now. And that building's been there for more than 2 years? When was it built, do you know?
It was built, I believe, 1977.
Okay. Do you know that were copies of the applicant supplied to the building inspector, the fire inspector, the assessor, and the health department?
Yes. Well, we've had discussions with those boards, and they've signed off, and copies weren't provided to Department of Health because it's municipal water and sewer.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any more questions then. Tony? Diane?
I'm just curious, and I don't know that this has any bearing, I guess, on the zoning issue. So you're getting rid of that cross gable in the front of the house?
I couldn't hear you. Say that again, please.
You're getting rid of the cross gable on the front of the house? Is that, you're losing part of the second floor in the existing house, or is that?
This is on the right side of the house, so we're not losing anything on the front of the house that's there now.
That gable is going to remain the same.
Okay, and is that how the drawing shows it? Am I wrong? Is it missing from the drawing? It could just be, I'm not, see, on this front elevation, it's straight across, am I correct, in the existing house? But on the existing house, you have a cross gable, right? So, what's?
That stays.
That stays, okay, all right. Okay. But I just wanted, that's all.
Okay. Larry?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Tony?
No questions.
Simona?
No questions.
Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this application? All right, anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this application? All right, I'm not seeing anything, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Or no? Okay, that motion carries. All right, and then I'm going to move for a 5-minute break. We'll adjourn and come back at, I think, is it 7:35?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
to bathroom. What?
All right, we're now back in session.
I didn't have an answer.
So let's see.
You're good.
Who's here? Someone from McDonald's here?
Not showing that he's on the phone, but I don't know if he's actually still
Okay.
there or not.
It's Matty Rose back on the line.
Okay, so I just wanted, typically we take, we go through this for people that are still in attendance, so I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm
Thank
not going to
you.
ask you anything more. All right, so, this is just on the monument sign, right? And they were denied permission to use the existing sign.
Well, you asked for,
What's that?
you
And I
asked
asked.
for written.
Yeah, so assuming that that's accurate, here's what I would suggest. I think I would, personally, I have a hard time conceptualizing what this is really going to look. They're going to start building this year. They should be done. I'd like to see, I would vote to deny the monument sign with the understanding that they could come back after we saw what the existing building looks like and whether in fact they need a monument sign. I would be more comfortable with that.
So, but if you deny a variance, I think it's a 2-year provision in the code to come back for
2 years?
exactly the same relief, yes.
Can they just withdraw?
So, I think, since the applicant is still on the line, I think maybe it would be helpful for the board to take a straw poll, and see if the rest of the board agrees with you, and if that's the case, you can either adjourn this until, September or whatever date you choose, or you can ask the applicant whether they'd be willing to adjourn if it doesn't look like the outcome tonight will be favorable to them getting a monument sign.
Okay. Is that, anybody have any real concern with that? So we would either ask them to withdraw, I mean, assuming that, was anyone in favor of granting the monument sign? Okay, then, in that case, the applicant is here?
Yes, the applicant's here.
So, you heard that, right?
Yes.
So, do you want us to adjourn it until the end of the year, or do you just want to withdraw your application and come back again after the building is up with the signage so we can get a better idea?
I would ask to have the application adjourned.
Adjourn? Okay. So, all right, so why don't we do it till November? Well, then they can adjourn it again, so. Is that good with everyone?
What?
Adjourn it to November?
Yeah, and then we can
In fact,
see
we may get a better idea even in November about what it is, but, okay. So I'll move to adjourn item number 3 until our November
14th.
14th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Phyllis.
How do you do?
Would it be helpful for them to come with, sometimes we request people to show us what the standard sign is, what the sign is they like. Would it be helpful if they brought more than one size rendering?
If they like, I think that it's whether there's going to be a monument or not, but that's.
Yeah,
That's-
the variance is actually not concerned with the size of the monument
Okay.
sign. So it's the fact that they want a third business sign and they want to advertise a sign. Typically, monument signs are only allowed to advertise the name of the shopping center and not a specific entity within the shopping center. So those are the variances they needed, not the size of it.
Thank you.
Can we strongly suggest that they provide the letter of refusal from the owner of the shopping center as well?
Yes, I think that they agreed to do that. I'll put that in my notes to see if I remember.
why the owner of the plaza would deny them a sign there. Doesn't make.
Well, the testimony, I think, was that it was not in the lease, so.
Diane, can you move the mic closer to your, if that one or whichever one? You're difficult to hear. I'm sorry. Or just to put both of them together and then we'll really hear you, right?
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. And can the notes just reflect that they agreed to provide that letter of denial?
Certainly.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number,
Wait, we had a motion. Did we have a second and a vote?
I thought we did vote, but all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Then that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, that brings us, after I write this note. Is there someone here from item number 4? Yeah, okay. All right, so this was an area variance for a second floor addition. It doesn't appear to encroach any further on the side lot lines. Anyone have any concerns about this one? Okay. No? All right, then let me offer these findings. Whether an undesirable change will produce in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. This is consistent with the neighborhood and, in fact, has no greater impact on the side lot line than the existing structure. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance based upon the size of the house and the substandard lot, it's impossible to achieve this without an area variance. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, mathematically it is, but since it has no greater encroachment on the side lot lines than the existing structure, it's practically, it's de minimis. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. The only concern we had was with rainwater, and based upon the topography of the area, it appears that should drain to the back of the property, and so there should not be any environmental or physical impact. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it certainly was. That's not a reason to deny the application, and I would offer those findings. Christine, do you mind making this motion?
Sure. I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 4. This decision is based on review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the findings as set forth by the chair. So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. 5 was adjourned. 6, Dunkin at Vassar Road. So, I understand that the applicant withdrew the application for the monument sign currently. So, the county has issued a denial of the request. The applicant seemed to indicate that the permitted sign and the one on the north side, I think, would satisfy them. Is that correct?
No, I think it's on the south side, right? Because that's,
No, the permitted sign, it's the north side, the entrance.
the entrance, isn't that the south
That's
side?
north.
That's the north side.
Right.
Okay, sorry, okay.
Okay. So,
And the east side, Vassar Road side.
right. So the Vassar Road side is permitted. I think the one over the entrance, that's the north side.
Okay.
The east side is compliant.
And the east side is compliant. So I'm okay with that. And what do you think about one on the smaller DD on the south side.
Based on where that building is and the view from Vassar Road, I think the one on the east side is gonna suffice. And you're not gonna miss it, it's a monster sign.
Okay. So, we need to, because the county issued a denial, we need a supermajority to grant it.
Except they issued only a partial denial.
Oh, did they? Oh.
Yeah, so it's, they were okay with the Dunkin', I mean, technically, if you end up with a supermajority, then you don't have to be as concerned with the counties, but they were okay with the, the Dunkin' sign on the north elevation. They just didn't want the Poughkeepsie Runs on Dunkin' sign. And they also suggested that the board condition the approval of the remaining signs on the applicant lowering them below the cornice. But they say that the board should deny the variances for the car and the arrow drive-through graphic, which I don't believe was a variance required. They also wanted the board to deny the DD and the Poughkeepsie Runs on Dunkin'. So the Poughkeepsie Runs on Dunkin' has been withdrawn, so if the board wanted to grant the DD sign, they would need a supermajority for that.
All right, so you would be against the DD.
I'm against all those Ds that they have all over the place on the
Well,
drive and
that's-
stuff like that.
Right, that's not this stuff.
But isn't that part of this? Aren't there
No.
signs?
Well, the applicant did agree that they would not put the DD on at least the drive-through post, so.
We can condition that, yeah, I
Right.
suppose. Tell me again, planning board, we don't remember whether planning
I
board.
believe the planning board just identified the locations of the signs as opposed to getting into, because we had told them that there would be a number of variances required by this board for size and type, et cetera. So I don't believe they got into the substance of any of the signs. They just were where the ones that were located that would be freestanding. And as to wall signs, I don't believe they said anything.
Okay.
Mr.
And-
Chairman,
Yes.
while you're getting your head is throbbing. The other one I brought up was the exit sign that says Dunkin' exit. There's already a plaza exit. I don't think they need a sign that says Dunkin' exit back on the Vassar Road. You know.
That's the only plaza exit, right?
That's it. There's one. No, you can go back up. You can go up the hill through Stewart's and come out that way.
You
Or
can go out the
or you
north
can come
end?
in. You can come in from Stewart's. There's an access
Oh, really?
driveway. Yes.
Okay.
Would be a newer sign.
That one's fine. That one's almost brand new. It looks like.
All right, well, this is an unlisted action, so I move that the ZBA determine that this is an unlisted action appropriate for uncoordinated review and declare itself to be the lead agency. I move that the ZBA determine that the action will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment for the reasons set forth in the determination of non-significance for this action.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, then, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? All right, then that motion carries. So Art, make a motion.
Which one? I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item 6. This decision is based on a review of the
Well, you gotta limit
application.
to what you're approving.
I'll approve the north-facing sign and the east sign.
The east side is permitted,
Okay, the north-facing sign. Which
over
is-
the entrance.
Yes, it's north.
And move to deny the DD,
Okay.
okay,
Move to deny the DD on the
south.
south side and Poughkeepsie Runs on Dunkin's has already been
Withdrawn.
Okay, are we done?
And are we gonna lower them? Are we
That
gonna?
was
And
part of the
that'll
deal.
be a condition.
At the,
We can put that as a
whatever you call
condition.
that thing, yes, in the white part of the building. This decision is based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts as findings so set forth by the chair.
The staff report.
Actually,
Is there a staff report?
There's a staff report, yeah.
I didn't get a staff
I
report.
just got it.
Oh. And in the staff report.
Yeah.
The staff report is basically, for those who didn't have a chance to read it before they came in tonight, is consistent with the county recommendations that too many signs causes visual clutter.
Yes, it is.
So,
So move.
so,
So you're
and
gonna
it's
make it
conditioned
conditions?
upon lowering the
Lowering the
signs
sign to the,
below the
the
roof
roof line.
line, and
So that would take away the turrets?
what?
it would lower them. It would lower the sign where it says the Dunkin'.
Right.
It
It's
would
gonna
bring
be-
that down. The sign would then be on the white part
Right.
of the building. That's what the applicant testified to.
Right.
And
But it was still the cornice above it,
No.
no?
What do you mean? The roof line is gonna be above it, right? The new roof line.
No, but it's still on those little, they're like little turrets.
it would be on, the Dunkin' sign would be on a facade, but that facade would be lowered, so the sign would be lowered, and the top of the facade would then be in line with the top of the roof. Not what's shown on the pictures.
They're gonna do away with that wooden look, right, and drop it down that far.
So what you're saying is that this would be coming off this, so it would be down here.
I don't,
Yes.
But
The
would this
sign will
still
be
on
lowered,
top of it?
and the top of that structure will be in line with the top of the roof that's on either side of
I
it.
think that will stay.
This would stay here.
The sign
and
would be
this would
slightly
not be
lowered,
here.
and the,
No, that would still be there, but lower.
Okay, so
lower.
the tower would be the same size.
yes.
Well,
That's what you're
it'd
saying.
be lowered.
No,
Yes.
this would be lower. This
Yep.
would stay the same size.
They're gonna lower the whole thing.
It's the entire thing.
Can we ask the gentleman that's still sitting here?
Yeah, you know, it's just, to pick a random description is kind of dangerous, isn't it?
Listen,
What's it gonna
are we
look like?
allowed to ask him? He's still sitting here
I mean, we're seeing. a
to resolve this
picture
confusion.
Would you like me to clarify?
Oh, there's somebody here.
here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is Dave Ballard again. So what we can do to satisfy that concern, we can lower the parapet so that it's even with the top of the mansard roof. So everything would come down, and then we'd put the signs would not be higher than the roof line. So that decorative element would be lowered, just bringing it down to the same height as the mansard roof. And the signs would come down as well.
Okay. So it would be the same thing
Slower.
Essentially the same thing lower, and then that wood paling would have to move or go someplace else on the building.
Okay.
Okay.
So
And
just-
you wanna limit the exit signs.
I'd like to have the plaza use their exit sign that they've used for the past X number of years, or supply a new one if we need it. Because I don't believe that, since the plaza is responsible for the exit, I don't see why Dunkin' Donuts has to be on an exit sign. Just limiting sign clutter.
Okay.
So if I can clarify, just to make sure I have the motion correctly, you're going to grant the north-facing sign that says Dunkin' over the entrance. You're going to deny the DD sign. The Poughkeepsie Runs on Dunkin' has been withdrawn.
Correct.
It's conditioned upon 3 conditions. 1 is lowering the decorative parapet below the roof line.
Correct.
2 is removing the DD from the drive-through sign. And 3 is eliminating the DD exit sign.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we have so moved by Art. Was there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
discussion?
No.
Anyone else have any other concerns or any other conditions that they wanna add?
No.
All right, then all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us
Should be number 7, right?
to item 7.
Free lane.
These were to legalize 2 existing sheds that have been there for about 30 years. Okay, anybody have any concerns with this one?
No.
They seem to be in pretty good shape, so there's no reason to, not to have them there. They're pretty consistent with, So let me make these findings. Whether an undesirable change will be created in producing the character of the neighborhood or in detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. The sheds have existed in the neighborhood for at least 30 years, according to the testimony of the applicant. It's consistent with the rest of the neighbors that also have sheds right along with the lot lines.
Very much.
Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to sue other than an area variance. It's possible, I suppose, to move those sheds that have been there for 30 years farther away from the lot lines, but I don't see that that's particularly feasible. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, mathematically it is, but the impact is minimized by the fencing around and the consistency within the neighborhood. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood, there's no evidence to indicate that that will have any physical or environmental impact. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it certainly is, but that's not a reason to deny the application, and I would offer those findings. Tony, do you mind doing this motion?
Sure. The motion to approve the area variance request. I move the board approve the request for the area variance set forth in item number 7. This decision is based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in public hearing, and the results of site visit by board member. Approving this variance, the board adopts the findings set forth by the chair.
Okay, any discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to number 8. This is 51 Laughlin Lane. This is a request to a proposed second-story addition to a house requiring an area variance of 2.8 feet.
So, Mr. Chair, during the break, we had a discussion with the applicant, and because he is putting attic space on the other side, the roof is actually technically going to be raised on that side as well, which is it's closer to the property line than is allowed, but it's not going to extend any closer to the property line. The roof is simply being raised, and there will be attic space underneath it. So since we have this applicant before us and we have noticed it for a public hearing, I recommend that the board actually grant 2 variances, one for 2.8 to allow it to be 2.8 feet from one side and to allow it to be 2.1 feet from the other side. When we originally looked at that, we noticed that the addition was going on one side, but we didn't focus on the fact that the roof was being raised universally, and so there technically should be a variance for both sides.
So 2.8 and 2.1 on the other side?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any concerns with this one? Then let me offer these findings. Whether an undesirable change will be reduced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. This appears to be consistent with other homes in the neighborhood, and I don't believe it will have any undesirable change in the neighborhood. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than area variance based upon the existing house and its encroachment on the side lot lines, there's no way for the applicant to achieve the desired result without an area variance. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, it is mathematically, but since there's no further encroachment on the side lot lines than the existing home, it's de minimis. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the impact on the physical or environmental conditions, there's no evidence that there will be any physical or environmental impact in the neighborhood or district. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it certainly was, but that's not a reason to deny the application, and I would offer those findings.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, well, Diane, did you?
I'd be happy to,
Oh, would you be kind enough to do that?
I
Thank
would
you.
do it, but how does that get handled? Is it all combined into one with the 2 variances, or do we
So I
have to
think
do it twice?
you're gonna move to approve the variance set forth in item
As
number
is.
8,
Number
8, indicating that there's a 2.8 foot variance on one side and 2.1 foot variance
So
on the
it's
other.
a single, okay. I move.
Is that's just,
That's acceptable.
okay.
I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 8 of,
Item number 8, to allow a variance of
allow-
2.1 feet on one side, to allow, I have to do the math now, hold on.
yeah, 2.8 and 2.1.
Well, that's the existing setback, to allow a setback existing of 2.8 feet on one side of the property and 2.1 on the other, where 20 feet is required.
Yes, okay. This decision's based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the findings as set forth by the chair. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to item number 9, 53 Buckingham Avenue. This is a request for an addition to the front of the house to be located 24.7 feet from the front property, where 30 feet is required, requiring a 5.3 foot variance. Anyone have any concerns about this one? All right, so this is really the side of the house. It's in line with the front of the house, but actually behind the porch, so it has really kind of limited impact on the front lawn. So I would offer these findings. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. This appears to be consistent with other properties in the neighborhood, and there will be no negative impact in the neighborhood. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. There's no other, based upon the position of the house, there's no other way to get the desired result without an area variance. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, perhaps mathematically it has some impact, but since this is actually behind the front porch, its impact is de minimis. And whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district, there's no evidence that there'll be any physical or environmental impact in the neighborhood. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it was indeed, but that's not a reason to deny the application, and I would offer those findings. Larry, do you mind making a motion?
No. I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 9. This decision is based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, results of site visits by board members, and the findings of the chairs. Is there a staff report for this?
No, it's the finding of the chair, just so you're going to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to item number 10, 51 Kinry Road. This is a request for an area variance, requiring a variance of 9 feet 4 inches for the addition of, to put an addition on the side of the house. Any concerns with this one? No? Okay.
I think so.
And so I would offer these findings. Whether an undesirable change will be reduced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. This is consistent with other properties in the neighborhood and should not have any adverse effect on the neighborhood. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance based upon the location of the house in relationship to the side lot line, it's impossible for the applicant to get the achieved result without an area variance. And whether the requested area variance is substantial, perhaps mathematically, but since there's no further encroachment into the side lot line than the existing home, I don't believe it's impressive. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district, there's no evidence that there'll be any physical or environmental impact on the neighborhood. And whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, that's absolutely true, but it's not a reason to deny the application, and I would offer those findings. Phyllis, do you mind doing this motion?
Not at all. I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 10. This decision is based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearings, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the finding as set forth by the chair. So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to item number 11. This is a request for a special use permit for an accessory apartment. According to the testimony of the applicant, it does not require a variance for the size of the accessory apartment. So it's simply on whether it meets the code for a special use permit. Does anyone have any concerns about this one? There is a staff report. No? Any concerns? All right. Then I move to approve the request for special use for a permit set forth in item number 11. This decision is based upon a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony gathered by the public, hearing, results of site visits by board members, and the staff report, and that it meets the criteria set forth in the town code. Is that sufficient? Okay. So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on this one? Then all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. That brings us to the final item on the agenda, lead agency request from the planning board for Camelot Village lot line revision site plan, 589, 621 Sheaf Road. The applicant proposes a lot line realignment between two mobile home parks to implement improvements to the Sheaf Manor Mobile Home Park and resolve existing encroachments. So I move that we have no objection or accept.
You move that the zoning board consents to the planning board being lead agency.
So I move that the zoning board consents to the planning board being lead agency on the Camelot Village lot line revision site plan.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Then that motion carries. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Then that motion carries. And good night. We're so adjourned.
Have a good evening.
Right.